Hello everybody, this is Gene from NYC and I am back with another video. Today's video is not about Onimusha, though this is one of my brother's favorite games. I was never quite into the Onimusha series, or generally like the, samurai, side-scroller, beat-em-up type things. But, different strokes, different folks, different taste. So, the reason I'm making a video today is because of, I don't know if we call it a controversy, but I guess the conversation around a game. I believe it's called Seikiro. Seikiro. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it's Seikiro Shadows Die Twice, I believe. And in particular, how games media is complaining about how the game does not have an easy mode. Now, I want to be clear. I am not by any means objective. I'm not even trying to put up a front to come across as objective in this video. I have my opinions. I have the side that I fall on, right? And here's how I view it. I'm less concerned about whether or not the game should have an easy mode. I don't know enough about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I don't know anything about it as a series. It's not a game that interests me. So I don't have any opinion as to whether or not it should have an easy mode, right? I'll leave that discussion up to the fans of the series. What the perspective that I'm approaching it from is why. Why are games media complaining and so up in arms and just digging their heels in the sand and saying that this game needs an easy mode? Apparently now they are also claiming that the lack of an easy mode somehow what's what I'm looking for, I guess, impacts disabled players. First of all, I knew a few people who were disabled back when I played games regularly, and they didn't like being treated differently or coddled because they had a disability. All they wanted was just whatever they needed, to play the game. I guess you would call it like a reasonable accommodation, which is a work term, but the idea was the same. They didn't want to be coddled. They didn't want to be seen as special. They just wanted whatever accommodation that was needed to play the game and then just play it. I can't recall anybody who demanded that a game, for example, have a different mode or anything like that, to play it. Especially since, at least in my experience with it, with people I've known in life, it was usually a hardware issue more than a software issue or a game setting issue. But again, I don't have enough knowledge, of I have no personal experience, and I don't have enough knowledge of disabled gamers or the disabled gamer community, and what their struggles are. What I do know is that from a few people I've seen, whatever accommodations they needed, it was regard hardware, right? Maybe a larger screen, or a zoom in, or maybe if they had some sort of physical limitation, like they were missing hand or fingers. It was always something hardware related, not usually software related. And a good friend of mine from college has vision issues, right? So whenever he plays games, like for example, he tends to have to have the images enlarged, or he has to sit very close to the TV or whatever it is, right? But I can't recall him ever, requesting something like, make the game easier. In fact, I think he would have found that terribly insulting. So my approach to this, first of all, the games media should not be trying to hide behind disabled people. They shouldn't be trying to hide behind anybody. They should just admit and be honest about why they want an easy mode. And here's my approach to the easy mode thing. Again, I don't care whether or not Sekiro has an easy mode. Now, if that would make it a better experience for its fans, then I say fine. Okay, most of the video games I played growing up had easy modes because they had difficulty settings and difficulty sliders. right? Like Street Fighter, I remember to this day, Street Fighter 2 Special Champions Edition, it had 8 stars, right? So if you could set, you can make it, you could put it on 1 star, which I often did as a kid because I had no talent at Street Fighter. I had absolutely no talent at it. So you could set it at 1 star, or you could set it at 8 stars, right? So again, that's what I grew up with. I am totally used to and familiar with video games having various difficulty settings. And that is a practice that I personally enjoy and like, because, it gives you a different gameplay experience. But again, I'll leave that up to the actual fans of the game, to discuss amongst themselves whether or not this particular game or the franchise needs an easy mode or needs difficulty sliders. I'm more concerned about why the games press are claiming that this game needs it. And as I think most of us already know, the games press are saying that this game needs it, not because the game is obscenely or ridiculously difficult, right? People talk about, oh, Dark Souls is so hard, and I have no doubt that Dark Souls is a very difficult game. But whenever I hear that, I just think, you never played the original Ninja Gaiden or Battletoads, did you? Those games live on in infamy because of their difficulty, because you had to be near perfect to beat those games, right? So don't talk to me about difficulty levels. Getting back to my point. Games media, most of games media, I would say. I don't want to, lump in everybody, but the majority of games media, right, are no longer gamers. They're no longer video game enthusiasts, right? They are trolls, they are Twitter activists, they are shills, they are bought and paid for, but they aren't gamers. And to me, that's the biggest issue, and honestly the most insulting issue. That a bunch of non-gamers who happen to write for gaming websites are now trying to tell gamers what should and should not be in their video games, right? That's what frustrates me. In my estimation, these game journals that are calling for this are not calling for it because it's obscenely difficult and it's just not fair to any player. They're calling for this because they don't want to have to work hard. This is the way I feel. They are calling for an easy mode to this game because they don't want to have to work hard to play it, to figure it out. And this isn't the first game that has garnered this sort of reaction. For example, a few years ago, I think, 2 years ago? There was the controversy over the difficulty levels in Cuphead, right? Which is if I remember correctly, it's Cuphead is like a platforming game, right? I remember it because it had these beautiful, sort of like 1930s cartoon type visuals, and I saw a few people try to play through it, right? And from what I saw, at least the beginning levels didn't look terribly difficult, but I did hear that there were control issues. I've played enough platforming games to know how difficult controls can be and how difficult timing jumps and all that can be. I remember the days when I played Mario and Sonic and all that, and there's a reason why I stopped playing Mario and Sonic. That was always more of my brother's thing. He always loved Mario, Sonic, platformers, Mega Man, all that jazz. Jean leaned toward her fighting games, toward her spy thrillers, toward everything opposite of her brother. Because we're people. But anyway, right, getting back to the point again, right? This is not about fairness or making sure that disabled people can play or making sure that this game is a fun, enjoyable experience for all who play it. This is about games media not wanting to actually be gamers and actually having to invest time and energy into playing the game. They want an easy mode so that they can cruise through it, so that they can review the game, take some problematic element, whether it be it's toxic masculinity because it's a Japanese samurai game, right, or some other issue, and write some sort of hit piece about it. Let's be honest. That to me is where the motivation comes from, and that's sad because I am a gamer, right? Gaming is part of my life. It's part of it's a culture that I grew up in. And to see it maligned like this, to see it appropriated by a bunch of wannabes, right? Who were let in because, we don't want to look like we're shutting people out. We should have shut some people out. And it's people like this, people who hide behind, some sort of noble goal. Like, again, Anita Sarkieesian, right? She is not a gamer. She's very anti-gamer. Any gamer with a brain will tell you that. But she was let in because gamers didn't want to look like they were oppressing a poor little woman who was just trying to, advocate for better depictions and representations of women in video games. I'm all for having that conversation. It's part of the reason why when I first heard about Anita's series, I watched it. I ended up watching most of her series because it angered me so bad. But in the beginning, right, I watched her series because I was interested. I was like, okay, yeah, I've seen some depictions of women in video games that I wasn't exactly comfortable with. Let's have this conversation, right? It wasn't a conversation, right? Anita wasn't trying to have a conversation. She was trying to be a critic. She was trying to piss people off. She was being a liar, right, in my estimation. And she was doing it by hiding behind the veil of, I'm just trying to advocate for a better representation of women in video games. Anita lost me and eternally turned me against her when she tried to paint the boss of let's say Mortal Kombat. No, that wasn't it. Of Metal Gear Solid 3 as a bimbo in one of her videos. Just because there's the one scene where the boss unzips her catsuit. And having played Metal Gear Solid 3 on at least 2 of its difficulty levels several times, I'm all too familiar with the final fight in the game, and I'm very aware of the fact that when the boss unzips her catsuit, it's not to be titillating, it's not to be sexy, it's actually a very sad moment. And it had nothing to do with sex. Nothing to do with it at all. It wasn't meant to turn the player on. Say what you will about Kojima, but again, that was a heartbreaking moment. And when she took that and she tried to imply in one of her videos that the boss, like the reason why the whole damn Metal Gear series exists according to the lore, was a bimbo, I was like, okay, you and I are going to be enemies for life. So, anyhow, again, back to the point. The point is, Games Press, sadly, is no longer made up principally by gamers. It's made up by people who have an agenda, and they want games to change because they don't want to have to actually work at actually trying to play video games, okay? I am of the old school, okay? I played, Street Fighter 2. I played every single star because you couldn't even see endings in Street Fighter 2 until you played on at least four stars or above. That game made you work. The games that I grew up playing back in the day, Streets of Rage, even other stuff like Golden Axe, right? Those games back then, the term I can't get it out right. Nintendo Hard exists for a reason. And it exists because at the time, games were mainly about challenge. That's where the enjoyment was, in the challenge right? Whether it was beating the high score, whether it was beating that one boss that kept kicking your butt, whether it was finally getting that, passing that level, beating the game. That's what gaming was about. That's where the fun was. That's where the achievement was. You didn't need a achievement unlocked. The achievement was in spending. I remember so many times. Oh my god, I remember spending over an hour playing Metal Gear Solid 2. Playing Metal Gear Solid 2, spending, I think, close to an hour, if not a little over, just fighting the first major boss in the game, who I think is Olga, right? The Meryl stand-in. Fighting her because I was playing on extreme and she kept kicking my butt. But I didn't give up because I wanted that win. I remember playing Street Fighter 2 as a little kid, spending, I think it was an hour and a half. I was playing on level 8. I was playing as Guile. I kept getting my butt kicked again and again and again and again and again by Bison. But I finally beat him. And I broke down in tears. I broke down in tears of joy. I had accomplished something. I remember playing MK3. The first character I ever beat Mortal Kombat 3 with was Nightwolf. And I remember this well because I will admit, as much as I don't like the whole representation argument, I did feel a little bit of a sense of pride being half Native American. That, I happened to beat the game with the Indian guy. So I will admit, I did feel a small sense of pride in that. But getting back to the story, I will admit, I did kind of use a cheat because there was a cheat code. This was back when you had to buy those huge cheat code books, right? Or you had to read GamePro magazine and go all the way to the back and read the SWAT Pro section and hope that the game you had was covered there. But anyway. There was a cheat that basically gave you like 30 continues, I think. And I remember I was down to my last continue. My poor Nightwolf was just nearly beat. This was, classic overpowered Shao Kahn. You attack him, especially since I had a temper. I still have a temper, but it was really bad when I was a kid. And I remember Khan would taunt you, and he would point at you and be like, "You will never win," right? And then of course, because I'm angry and I'm trying to win, I try to attack him, and then he either kicks you or hits you with that punch that sends your character flying across the stage. And it was always on the pit. You always fought on the pit in MK3 whenever you fought Khan, or he would just pull that damn warhammer out of nowhere, and then afterward he'd be like, "You suck." I'm like, "I'm gonna kill you." But I remember like being on like one more blow. I think even if I blocked it, it probably still would have taken my Nightwolf down, but somehow, I guess it's just dumb luck, or maybe I finally figured out the pattern. I got in close, Khan attacked, I think I ducked it, and then, since from the ducking position in MK3, you could pull off that ridiculously powerful uppercut. I ducked, I hit the uppercut, right, and then all of a sudden, the screen starts flashing. I'm like, oh god, the game just broke, what happened? The game didn't break. I'd won. I beat the game. Right, and then had that you like the cinematic plays, and you get Nightwolf's ending in that game, and then it's like you have defeated Shao Kahn. Peace has now been restored to the realms. You are the MK3 champion. I have so many memories. Of those type of last ditch, last chance. Pure luck attacks, right? Because I grew up playing video games. I love video games. Even now I love them, which is why I don't play a lot of them anymore, because they're not what they should be. they've lost their way. It just becomes so commercial, and then you have people in the games press like this who are all, make it easy, make it easy. No, 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 no. Make the game fun. If having an easy mode will make the game fun and make it a good experience for players, fine, have an easy mode. If having only normal or difficult, or not having a difficulty mode at all, right, makes the experience fun and pleasurable for the fan base, then let it be. But we need to stop catering and kowtowing to people who are not gamers, who have no real interest in video games, who are just trying to use it as a platform to preach whatever their ideology is, right? I'm basically of the opinion, and call me an elitist, call me a gatekeeper, I am, and I am. But I'm of the opinion, especially now, that it's like, if you aren't for games, right? If you are in games and you're not for them, right? Get the hell out. That's basically how I feel. If you're not for games, get the F out. We need gamers. We need passionate gaming enthusiasts. That's what we need, right? We don't need activists. We don't need people, trying to use the mainstream popularity of video games to preach from their pulpit. You want to preach that, that women dressing as they like is bad? Fine. Go preach that somewhere else. Go preach it somewhere else. Don't preach it in my video games. So anyway, that went off on a tangent, as it often does, but too long didn't listen to the 20-some minute video. Basically, I want non-gamers out of gaming. I don't care whether or not Seikiro Shadows Die Twice has an easy mode. I'm more concerned about why Games Press wants the game to have an easy mode. And given my experiences and given what I've seen, I firmly believe they want an easy mode because they don't want to have to actually work and actually play the game. If they could literally just sit and watch the cinematics, they would. So that's my opinion on it. I hope you all have a nice day or night. Let me know what you think in the comments. My head's all over the place today. Anyway, also if you would like to share, leave in the comments what some of your, best gaming memories are, playing a game on a difficulty level, that was difficult for you, or that one boss that took you forever and a day, and a bit of hope and some dumb luck to beat. If you're willing to, please share those stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So anyway, have a good day, have a good night, have a good wherever you are. Bye.